got into real estate shortly after purchasing my first house, which was in 2010. So I bought my first house, and the real estate agent that I was paired up with and the mortgage lender, it was just, yeah, as the story goes, a very sloppy and unprofessional experience. I was figuring things out as we went along, surprises all along the way with the home inspection, with the appraisal, with costs that were being incurred that I was unfamiliar with. And I kind of just finished the whole thing. At the time I was 23 years old, and I was like, okay, I mean, this is kind of baffling to me. I borrowed the most money I've ever borrowed in my life. I just bought the biggest thing of my life. And I've had better experiences, buying shoes or something, like something that's just so much more insignificant. And it left a bad taste in my mouth. And I never really forgot about that. And about a year later, I was at a crossroads with, my employment, and I was just kind of like discontent and wanted something better. I knew I wanted to go into business for myself one day. And naturally, real estate presented itself, and I went against it, saying, I'm gonna go against what I know with current real estate agents and all of my experience that I've seen with the lazy behavior, the unprofessional attitudes, and I'm just gonna do things differently. And from day one of getting my license, I branded myself as anti-realtor.
Right. Yeah. And that's originally what I saw. And I mean, Inman, they do the Integrated of the Year, and I think it was Kenny Trong that got it last year. And it's interesting. And I saw the words anti-realtor. So I was like, all right, I got to talk to this guy because, originally, I started out in working in Manhattan, and it was such like the pressure to be like the salesman and to pitch and to be the little ponytail sleazy guy is like, it's through the roof because, there's a ton of money to be made on one hand. And then there's also the risk of catastrophic failure, yeah. Almost as, like right next to it. So I saw that and I'm like, okay, I definitely got to talk to this guy. I think it's a cool approach. So tell us about the approach and how you came, you came up with it. You're like, all right, so how did that play out in your approach to selling real estate?
Yeah, so I've been in sales basically my whole life. So selling was really something I was very familiar with, but my style and the way I've done it has always been very honest and ethical. And that essentially would win over the customer because the approach was, the truth is I don't care if you buy or you don't buy. I mean, this is the truth. This is the facts. Here's where I'm going to steer you and based on what you need. And, what do you know? You get repeat and referral customers that way. And then people end up buying even more with you that way, right? So I just translated that same thing over to real estate. And from day one, I just like, okay, I remember that my service experience was very lackluster when I purchased my first home. So I'm going to just go above and beyond the best I know how and make sure that people are really getting a high quality experience here. And in the first few years, it was just the regular grind, do anything and everything you can do to find someone who might be a prospect, might be a client. And then following through with it, I just did the best I know how to, answering the phone, going to appointments, all these things. And I discovered a couple interesting things my first year. So my first year in the business, I did about 14 transactions and half of them came from someone who already had a realtor. So I shouldn't say they were committed to that realtor, but when the conversation happened with them, I would ask questions, and then I'd say, oh, okay, are you working with anyone? And they'd say, well, we called this one guy, but he hasn't called us back. I said, okay, well, when did you call him? Monday. It's Saturday. So these people half of my business came from people who didn't follow up, didn't pick up their phone. And I was like, oh my God, the bar is set so low in this industry. Yeah. So just like any other agent, I would close these deals. I'd ask for testimonials. I'd ask for 5-star reviews and Yelp reviews and what have you, and post them on the website, advertise them, do whatever you do. But it wasn't until about 2014 where I was reading these and, it's it's nice. You get this validation. Okay, these 5-star reviews, I must be doing something right, whatever. But then you kind of just need to check yourself for a minute and audit these 5-star reviews and read the comments, and the comments are stupid. You know, their comments are like, Jay's the best. He showed up to every appointment on time. He answered his phone when called. He communicated the deal. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, is that what I bring to the table? Like, that's so shitty. That is a normal, like, regular job. Like, you've done your job. So I started to measure it against other industries, like especially hospitality industries, you know, thinking about different restaurants and different resorts, different hotels, and thinking like, would this same sort of thing fly in these verticals? And the answer is absolutely hell no.
We got our food.
Right, yeah.
It was correct. Like, what?
You know, it's silly, but it's true to think of it that way. You know, we checked in this hotel and they gave us our room key. Are we going to shout from the rooftops to stay at this hotel? We ordered room service, and 30 minutes later it arrived. Like, it's ridiculous, but somehow we managed to get away with it in real estate. And the truth of the matter is, we do it across the board, even as consumers. I mean, if you think about, you know, staying at an Airbnb or an Uber or a Lyft, right? You get out of the car, it asks you to do a review, or a rating rather. And I mean, pretty much if you showed up alive, you're like 5 stars, done, you know, and that might be great. You know, the Uber driver might be like, hey, I got 717 5-star reviews. I'm awesome. But at the end of the day, like, I don't remember my last Uber driver's name. You know, they're all saturated in the same sea of people. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I believe that real estate agents have the same challenge, because as much as these 5-star reviews were coming in 2012, 13, 14, I believe that there wasn't a remarkable experience to be had. So the referral side of it may happen, but a very diluted version of it. Whereas you have, let's say, hypothetically, someone over here, you know, one of my past clients overhears someone saying they want to buy a house. I do believe, I'm confident that they would say, oh, well, you know, you should give my guy Jay a shot. He was great. And then if that person responds and says, oh yeah, well, you know, John knows a guy and we're actually going to go through him instead, that's probably where it stops. You know, like that past client probably goes, oh, okay. You know, because like, I'm sure he's probably going to be as good as Jay, like whatever. Mm-hmm. So it kind of illustrated this huge white space to me as far as how far above and beyond you could actually go to get insane repeat referral business and really create an evangelist versus someone you're asking to do you a favor, right? So people are all saying, oh, hey, can you call your past clients? Do you ever follow up with your past clients? Do you ever ask for referrals? The answer is no. I never do that, because the same way the Ritz-Carlton never asks me to refer people to them, like the service stands on its own 2 feet. So like if you deliver a high enough caliber of service, people will naturally refer it out, and not only refer it out, they'll passionately refer it out. Like if you've had a stellar experience at a restaurant or a hotel, whatever it is, you are telling anyone who will listen how great your VIP treatment was, and you're like insanely passionate about them experiencing what you have experienced. And so that became the angle in 2014.
So that's awesome. And like I said, some of the best advice I ever got, particularly as working as a buyer's agent, was from one of the first companies I worked for. The sales manager was like, look, he's like, just think about it like you're with your best friends and you're going shopping, you know? Like, you're not going to lie and say you look great in that. If it's your friend and you're like, that jacket looks awful, throw it, you know what I mean? So you're there for service rather than to sell. So, you know, I think approach is right on.
Yeah, so that's kind of where things went. So in 2014, I started to build out like systems and processes as to, okay, what does this actually look like? What does a 7-star experience look like? What is something that, like, if that same past client heard someone say, oh yeah, well, we know like this guy, John, knows that we're going to work with him. What would happen? What would I need to do to make that person say, no. Like, you don't understand. Like, this is the guy to go to. Yeah. And I can't even explain, I can't even put into words how great the experience was, but I can assure you there's no one else doing what he does. So I started to put like things together, and building systems and processes that would be mirrored through the transaction, be uniform every time. As an example, one of the things with real estate that makes it very unique is that we have a pretty big duration of time to create an experience for someone. You know, 30 days, 45 days, 60 days. Whereas most other industries don't. It's more transactional. You know, if you're shopping for auto insurance or something, you go for the best quote and you go, okay, let's do it. Boom. That insurance agent doesn't really have much opportunity to like wow you. You know, it's kind of like it's done. You've made an order and they're going to fulfill it. With real estate, we've got like a month or two to absolutely crush the experience. And so I started to think about pain points of the consumer, even unknown pain points that we could deliver on every single time to make them feel special throughout the entire transaction. So as an example, it's like when you open escrow on a file, obviously someone who's either buying a home or selling a home is going to feel a little bit of anxiety. It's like probably something they haven't done in a very long time or something maybe they've never done. So what we do is we send out, right now, it's like we're sending out stress relief tea, motivational stress balls, a head scalp massager. And the message is just like, hey, during this time, it's my job to remove as much stress from the equation as possible. Yeah. But if you feel yourself being a little anxious, like here are some things that might help. And it's funny and whatever. It sets the tone on day one. And then days after that, they're getting moving boxes to their front door of their current residence with packing tape and markers and says, hey, here's one less thing you got to stress about. And this same sort of theme continues with about 8 to 12 touches during the entire transaction. So what it's doing is it's telling the consumer like, okay, my agent like actually gives a shit. He's not just waiting for the culmination of this thing to conclude, collects a check. Instead, it's like, here are things that are going to help you. Here are things you might need. They're not corny. They're not punny. It's real. It's like, hey, this gifts from me to you as a friend. And so fast forward until, now 2018, I have been giving talks about this for the last couple of years, just like, here's the secret sauce. Here's what I do. And I don't spend any money at all on cold marketing, $0, literally. I don't want the cold client. I just don't. I'd much rather
wants it, but they kind of need them.
Right. Well, I think that if you take the same budget you had on your postcards and your flyers or whatever, and you pull back into your past clients or your existing clients, the people who already trust you,
right?
That evangelist, right? And like what I mean by that evangelist, like if you think about like your favorite movie, right? Like, I mean, think of Shawshank Redemption. It's like a blockbuster classic, right? I take it you've probably seen the movie.
Many times.
Okay, so let's say as an example that I have not seen the movie and you and I just start talking about it, you're instantly going to be like, dude, how have you never seen that movie, right? You're going to be like kind of like bothered by that. Like, how have you never seen that? And then you're going to obviously recommend it. And now take it a step further. If I'm like, oh yeah, well, me and my girlfriend are actually thinking about watching a movie tonight. We don't know what to watch, so maybe we'll watch that. You're like, yes, dude, please watch that movie, right? Yeah. And then if you see me tomorrow and we talk, you're anxious to hear my feedback, number one.
Right.
But if I'm like, so here's the deal. We actually didn't watch that movie. Instead, we ended up watching Bridget Jones' Diary. Yeah. You're going to be like super pissed off and be like, why, dude, what? Yeah, like, why wouldn't you watch this movie? And then on the flip side, if I did watch it, you're going to start drilling me with questions of like, dude, what'd you think of Andy Dufresne? What'd you think of this character? What'd you think of this? Right. What about this part? And what you're doing is you're getting all this fulfillment based on an experience you had once had that now I'm having. And we do it with restaurants. We do it with hotels. We do it with beer. We do it with everything. Real estate is really no different so long as you knock it out of the park, you know?
So that's really awesome. And again, it's I think people are a little, especially beginning agents are a little bit hesitant to sort of drop the money on something that's not a done deal. On a smaller scale, like I said, I work in Manhattan and Brooklyn. I haven't driven a car in 15 years. My clients don't drive cars. So, one of the things I did was like, I'm just going to go, I was with Uber VIP. Like I was paying for like Uber office rent for, a good portion of time. And people were really, really appreciative because it's like on the one hand, I had coworkers who were getting on the bus and like, I'm like, it's going to cost you $20, and we're talking rentals where you can make $5,000. It's like, why would you not spend $20 to make, so I totally get it. And again, this is, a big part of the reason I reached out. This is something that I think a lot of really talented realtors do without necessarily putting a label on it. And I think it's something they do intuitively. And, I think it's awesome that you're like kind of coming out there and sort of, telling people about it rather than just like, oh, you just got to be great, and you get this wishy-washy kind of advice from Dolly Lenz or somebody, or one of the Real Trends 1000 that just, they don't tell you like, look, this, 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 and this. So talk to me a little bit about the company that you started.
Yeah, so this all kind of led to this, right? So like for years, I mean, from 2014, 2015 to now, I've been doing more and more public speaking engagements. A lot of them are along the same topics and themes. And like you said, I've just been here's the information, here's the secret sauce, here's whatever, like information has never been the problem though. It's the execution that's the problem. So naturally, after doing this for so many times, I just saw what was happening. I would get off stage, people would come up to me and they'd say, that was great. Oh my God, I completely see the value in this. This makes total sense. I'm going to start doing this in my business. And lo and behold, it never happened, right? There's like 1% of the audience that actually start implementing things. Yeah. So in January of this year, I was like, okay, enough's enough. Like, this is a real pain point. It's something that people arguably, I mean, almost everyone understands that is critical to happen throughout the transaction with any client, with any industry, real estate just being one of them. And almost unanimously, people say, yeah, I could be doing more for my past clients, and I just don't, right? So instead, I'm like, I'm going to just create a company that does this for you. You can set it and forget it. There will be different tiers of service. I created focus groups based on people who follow me and whatnot, and built the whole business around that. Opened up beta in March or April, and limited it to 100 customers. It was crazy what the response was. We were inundated, hit that mark very quickly, had repeat customers and repeat sales within that very short time frame, and then officially went live just a few weeks ago. So basically what Client Giant is it's a white labeled concierge service for any business, but let's say real estate specifically, that is delivering 7-star client experiences to the client on the business's behalf. So Client Giant is not seen anywhere ever. Our branding is not seen anywhere. It's all coming from a meal, right? And in terms of what's relevant with real estate, like I mentioned before, having this period of time where you're able to really execute on something, that's what we call an escrow package. And you can go gold, platinum, or diamond, depending on what it is. You'd mentioned investing in it earlier, and I get this question a lot when people are like, wow, that's a lot of money, or this is whatever. First thing I would ask someone is what they're spending on cold leads, because I can almost guarantee you your ROI is not even remote close to what it's going to be on this. And secondly is on an escrow package, you're just taking a portion of your earnings. Like, you're not coming out of pocket and saying like, oh, I hope this works, like with postcards and stuff. It's like quite literally will work every single time, and you have the money to do it coming to you. So that's how it works. And depending on which tier you go with, the touches become very, very high level concierge-esque, like Ritz-Carlton sort of service. And the responses we've been getting are just unreal. Like, our customers can't even believe what we're doing for their clients, and that's ultimately what I set out to do.
That's really, really cool. I think, one of the great things about that as well is that, I think people don't really factor in the marketing that they're going to do after they close, because, hey, I'm going to nurture this, former client over the next year, over the next 6 months, whatever. And you're doing emails and you're sending, holiday cards or a bottle of wine or this, that, and the other thing. And all that adds up, especially if you're focusing on the wrong people, like you're focusing on your sphere, and like, it's like the people that trust you the most, like you said, are the ones that, if you can convert from, trusted client to evangelists, it's going to have a much higher ROI than converting from, regular Joe Schmo to maybe client, right? And I think people are trying to focus on the latter, and they're trying to say, hey, look, I'm trying to convert, this guy I went to high school with into maybe a client, or to a client who's going to, sheepishly let me show him 5 properties and never call me back. So, I think it's like you're kind of zeroing in on like the best, possible opportunity for long-term success. And I think it's really, really smart. And I definitely think that this service that you have that's kind of set it and forget it is something that a lot of agents want. And so also, is there any training involved in this? Is it like because I think people that are going to respond to this, or maybe tell me if I'm wrong, are people that are kind of already kind of have a sense of what they want to do. They have decent clients. Maybe they're working a little bit of luxury properties, and they just want to have it done and then just not have to worry about it. So is it more for like new agents, or you're trying to hit all the sort of tiers of agents, or is it more for like the high end people?
No, actually, it's our customer base now is all over the map.
Cool.
I mean, literally all over the map too. But no, I mean, we've got very high level, high volume brokerages that have implemented it top down, saying we want to control the client experience and have a uniform top down. So they're mandating it across the board. This is what we do. Now, some brokerages are taking the cost on themselves as a piece of value add to the agents for agent recruiting, agent retention, client retention, right? Others are passing the fee along as a transaction fee to the client, just like a TC fee or something. And then others are leaving it for the agent to reimburse the brokerage post-close. But to answer your question, I mean, this has hardly been in fact, I don't even know if we have a formal luxury agent who's on client. We've had people say that they would pay more for even more things because their median price is significantly larger than most. But like, no, right now it's kind of all over the board with people who are putting in clients. And the thing that was the most validating for me is that during the beta phase, so many of the people, the customers who signed up, continued to buy escrow packages, sometimes multiple a day, sometimes multiple a week. So they're totally seeing the value in it, and getting these thank yous and referrals. And on our small business side, which is purely client retention, I can go over that in a little bit. That's been really interesting too. We had a guy who signed up with us the beginning of last month. He imported 40 clients. The first touch that went out to those 40 clients, he got one referral, securing a contract of $25,000 a month in revenue. I mean, you talk about the ROI of being fucking thoughtful. It's like, it is no brainer,
Right? It's what your mom told you. It really is. It's like,
treat people the way you want to be treated.
Your parents were right, 100%. Okay, so let's switch gears kind of a little bit. One thing I'm trying to do is every super successful realtor I talk to, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but what, if you have it off the top of your head, what tech are you using that you thought was awesome, like the CRM, website stuff? Like what was your main sort of go-to secret weapon tech?
So with tech, like the CRM thing is kind of like, it's always been and always will be probably a hot topic where people kind of lean on their lack of organization as being the root problem. And they go, oh, if I had a different CRM,
you never know.
I don't have a six pack because I don't have a Bowflex in my house. If I had that, then back, so the CRM thing, that's never been a secret weapon for me. The way I stay organized that you'd probably laugh at, but there are a couple secret weapons out there that I like. One that comes to mind, and probably, again, when I think of tech, I think of ways to automate and streamline cold business, right? Because all your hot and warm stuff, you're probably touching yourself. So in order to stay organized and whatever, like we use the CRM Infusionsoft, which is like, that's a behemoth of a CRM, and it's like very, very robust. And only if you're inclined enough to use it could it do wonders for your business. This is more brokerage level. But there's a company called Real Contact. They do SMS lead follow-up and nurturing. Now, so the way this works, and it's really cool. It's really impressive, and I think it's more relevant now than ever. Cold lead comes in. You can trigger it however you want, whether it's a lead sign up on a website or whatever, but it'll trigger, instead of going email drip campaign, email that no one even pays attention to anymore, it's text message directly to the phone, right? So this is important because you can kind of build out your script in terms of, okay, here are the initial questions I want asked. If they don't respond, then I want this to go out the next day. If they don't respond, then 3 days later, I want this, and blah, blah, blah. That's one piece of it. The other piece of it is if they do respond, here's where I want the funnel to go, and here's where I want eventually to lead. So the initial question goes out. The person replies via text. It immediately assigns it to a live concierge at the company who's actually behind a computer and typing. They understand where the funnel should go, so they're answering questions. But the reason why this is important is because it's not a bot. So about 6 months ago, one of our things went out and it said, hey, like, I see that you're looking for property. Are you looking in this city or this city, whatever, did the automated whatever. And the person's first response was, yeah, well, we're kind of just looking right now. Things are on hold. My mom just passed away last week. So if you had a bot, this would be a problem. It's great.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So
face. Yeah. Oh, geez.
So this live concierge, they go, I'm so sorry to hear that. Please reach out to us whenever you're ready. And so the reason why this is important is that, again, unanimously, I'm sure that most people can say they don't call leads the second they come in. They wait a little bit too long. They don't nurture leads more than 5, 6, 7 times, whatever. So this is a way to do that through text versus email. So, I don't know if I'd call it a secret weapon, but if I'm going to say any tech is a secret weapon, that would be it. I also like this company called Real Scout. Yeah. So basically, it's a pretty MLS, But yeah, that's probably it for tech.
I think those are two good picks, and I think you're right in that. The tech companies like Riley and like a lot of these tech companies that are doing really well are sort of integrating human beings. It's like, hey, we have the concierge, we have a guy. And it might be somebody overseas. It might be somebody who's not necessarily licensed or whatever. But there's only so many variables of things that they're going to say that a bot, just like your example is perfect. A bot is just not going to cut it. And the chat bot sort of lead qualifying thing, I think everyone wants it. Everybody wants to implement it, but I feel like it's a couple of years away at least. I think people are sinking a lot of money into the wrong thing. Whereas even if you hire a virtual assistant in the Philippines, or you have a company that has people in the U.S. and integrates that kind of tech, and it's just following the things that convert. Text messages and Facebook chat. Open rates are 10 times what they are in email, and then having that human touch automated. I can see where why you would choose that. And you're probably not giving me the real secret weapon, but that's okay.
No, I'm an open book. I'll tell you anything you want to know.
No. I'm just messing around. So awesome, man. Yeah. So Client Giants, and the website's clientgiant.com, I'm assuming.
Yep. Clientgiant.com.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, I'm definitely going to send that out, and we're going to, go through all that details in the bottom of this. And awesome, man. It was awesome talking to you, man. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Emil.